Hello and welcome to the new Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission website. This website is designed to give you information about how funds are being used in your community and beyond, and includes a mechanism for local jurisdictions to report how they have used and distributed the funds that they've been awarded. To start, we'll discuss how to get logged into the local reporting system. If you've not already done so, please check your email for correspondence from our team that includes instructions on how to request a user account. Your user account will need to be requested through the formal channels in order for you to receive a sign-up email. Once you've received a sign-up email, which looks something like this, you'll load it. You're looking for emails from support@ukY.edu, and they'll include a link to click and set your password. Click that link, set up your password, and return to the homepage. On the homepage, KYOAAC.ky.gov, you'll click the local reporting tab and the login option to log in. Enter the password and email that you set up, and log in, and you'll be taken to the home screen for your jurisdiction. Here you have options to look at the forms that are either in progress for your team or have been submitted by your team. This page also includes information on the status of your forms and a link to request information from recipients of funding. We're going to walk through how you will interact with this page next. If you do not have any recipients of funding at this time, you can skip step 1 and move straight to step 2. If, however, you have any funding recipients, including internal funding being used by your team, then you'll want to gather information about how that funding is being used. To do this, you'll copy the link that's attached to your personal profile, and you'll share this with all of the recipients of your funding via email. Each recipient can receive the same link, and each of them will be able to submit a separate report. So you only need to use one link for all of your recipients to gather up their information. When you send out the form, they'll receive a survey that they can complete about how they've been using the funding and what specific things have been done so far. This is very handy for you to send out the survey in advance of attempting the local reporting form, as every one of your recipients that completes the survey will reduce the amount of work that you have to do in completing the form yourself. When you come back and are ready to complete the local reporting form, you can check the status of survey completions by looking at surveys that you've sent out and have been completed. So here's one that I completed this morning for an organization I'm calling Recovery Place. You can see that this survey respondent completed all of the fields of information and filled in their contact information as well as what they're doing with the funding. This will be handy when we get back to the local reporting form. So to recap, you'll come to this page, you'll distribute your surveys, you'll verify that your surveys have been completed, and once you have everything that you need in place, or if you feel confident that you can manually enter the information yourself, you can move on to completing the local reporting form. You'll go here and click to start a new report. At this point, when you click Start Form, a blank form is generated. You'll select the fiscal year that this form is associated with and the jurisdiction that you're reporting on behalf of. So since I am in Lexington, I will pretend to be reporting on behalf of Lexington, Fayette, Urban County. You'll include the date and some information about yourself. And then once you've completed that information, you can click the box to confirm that you're authorized to submit this report. On the financial reporting page, we'll ask you to report the total that your jurisdiction has received since the first settlement payment, as well as the amount in your account at the beginning of the current fiscal year and the amount that was received from the settlements in the current fiscal year. If your account has earned any interest, report that here, as well as the expenditures that were dispersed or used internally in the current fiscal year. And then finally, the ending balance in your account by the end of that fiscal year. We expect that if any expenditures have been listed, you must have at least one recipient listed. Here you can see that there's a warning because I don't have any recipients identified yet, but I reported that $10,000 was spent. So let's go ahead and address this. We want to make sure that we're reporting both internal spending as well as external recipients here. So if I'm taking the perspective of Lexington-Fayette County, I'll just report some amount of internal funding use along with external funding that was awarded out. And let's say that I put $4,000 and $6,000. We'll then move on to the progress reporting. On this page, you are going to provide contact information for each of the recipients that you listed. In my case, because I am taking the persona of Lexington-Fayette County's reporter myself, I will be filling in my own fictional contact information here. And you would do this if you have internal funds that have been used, go ahead and report the local reporter's information or anybody else that would be responsible for those funds and can report on how they were used. Next, if you have any recipients that are external, make sure that you have their contact information handy. You'll need to enter it yourself. We do this as an extra check to make sure that we have a way of following up on your responses. If you have an organization that has completed your survey and reported on the impact of their funds usage, then this is the only thing that you'll have to manually enter yourself. Everything else will be automatically entered on the next page. So I'm just double checking this. You can see that I've reported contact information for every recipient of funding that I'm reporting on this form. I'll now move on to the impact section. Here you have two options for completing the information. You can manually enter information that either pertains to your own organization or for which you were unable to obtain a survey response and that you have accurate information for. We'll cover the exact components of these reporting forms in another video, but for now, let's focus on what you do if you've already received a survey response from an organization. So we have a survey response we can use from Recovery Place. They have self-reported the beginning and end date of their funding period. They've self-reported how they would describe their project, how it's going, and the outcomes that they have to share, as well as the stage of implementation that they're in. They've also self-reported all of the information that we gather on distribution of individual services with the funding and the strategies that they've used. So if you can get a survey response, that's going to help you complete this form much more quickly. If, however, you have to do a manual entry, you will simply fill in all of the components of this form yourself, following the instructions that can be found in the local reporting survey video. For the sake of time, I've gone ahead and completed this form, filling in responses that reflect the information that I've made up for Lexington-Fayette County. So we now have a form that included manual entry of all of the necessary fields and a form that auto-filled all of the information that I was able to collect from a survey. At this point, you are ready to submit the report. You can always return back to previous pages to review your work if needed. But once you're satisfied, you can go ahead and hit Submit Report. At this time, you will see a view of all of the responses that you share. If you choose, you may download a copy of your form so that you can access it later. If you do that, it will look like what we saw in that pop-up menu. After your form has been submitted, you can view the status of your form by returning to the Forms page and looking at the local reporting form table. Here we see the form I just submitted at 3:44 p.m. and it has a status of submitted on the processed field. You can view that form to review the responses that you'd submitted before, but you do not have the option to edit it until it's returned to you by Opioid Abatement Commission. If you find an error, you can email the KYOAAC and request that they return the form to you before they've made a decision. To help you see how it will look when you've received feedback on your form, I've gone ahead and pushed through decisions on the forms that we were just working on. You can see that the decisions are available and located in the table to review. And I pushed through accept decisions for the form that we just worked on in an earlier form. And I also pushed through reject revision requested decisions for the other two forms. So if you see a status like this, it means that you have the opportunity to modify your form and resubmit it for reconsideration by the Commission. This completes the local reporting version of the training. Thank you so much.